Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Ganguzza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
Hey guys, before we get going today, I want to talk to you about some amazing new Bossalicious products we have that are really going to help you up your game.
And you don't have to be a girl or a woman to be Bossalicious, by the way. Guys can be just as Bossalicious as the ladies, right, Ann?
Everybody can be Bossalicious. VO Boss has amazing classes that can help you to self-propel your goals and increase your business and your bottom line. So for both beginning and advanced VO talents, we have our Boss University. So you can select from different classes at different levels.
This is like our podcast on steroids, guys. This is me and Ann at our best, doing what we do, putting our boss brains together, right? Because 2 boss brains is totally better than 1, and giving you all kinds of webinars and ways that you can improve your bossness and bossability and make more money.
Go to voboss.com and just click on the shop tab.
And now, on with the show.
Welcome, everybody, to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguzza, along with my lovely, beautiful co-host, Gabby Nistico. Hey, Gab.
Hi.
Gabby, today I have a very interesting question to ask you. How far will you go in regards to a voiceover job?
What are we talking about? Like first base, second base, third base? No, that's not what you're
No.
asking.
No. In regards to, let's say, content of your voiceover job, do you have a limit? Do you have certain things that you will refuse?
Yeah. Certain
jobs that you just won't take on or even entertain the thought, depending on content and or money?
Yeah. I think all voice actors have their limit, but we sometimes don't talk about that enough to kind of share and help folks to understand. Plus, when I was in the casting chair, man, I saw it all. I saw every refusal for work you can think of. Everyone has a different moral or ethical stance on their work, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a matter of knowing where you stand. For me personally, anything that is a very strong cultural or racial bias, slander, just nastiness, I won't engage in, because that's just ick and no. Anything that's too overtly sexual, I'm like, no, because that's just it. I can't do that kind of stuff with a straight face. It's not even so much that I'm opposed to the material. I just know me. You and I know folks who do romance novels and like, erotica. Yeah. And I can't get through that with a straight face. I just will laugh and fall apart and like turn into a giggly 15-year-old and I'm out. So, So that one, I guess it's an ethics issue to the line where I just go, yeah, I don't feel good about this, doesn't give me the warm fuzzies. But, not too much else. I mean, I've done things for alcohol companies. I have no problem with that, and a lot of voice actors do. They won't support alcohol or tobacco or firearms or, anything of that nature. And then strong language is another big one, and I couldn't care less. Say anything. I don't care about the curse words. That doesn't bother me.
Well, I think for me it's all very similar to what I would entertain discussing in social media, which I always say to stay clear of religion and politics, especially things that you feel strongly about. I don't know if controversial voiceover jobs, do you want them associated with your brand? And so if you stay away from certain jobs, how do you let that client know that you're not willing to take that job on? Is there a graceful way to say no?
Oh yeah. I've seen both. I've seen the right way and I've seen the wrong way. Usually, as with most castings, that third party who's involved, the booking party, agent, casting company, production company, whatever, they're putting out the audition. And in many cases, if they know it's a potentially controversial subject matter, they might say, feel free to disregard or don't answer don't respond to this audition if you're not okay with this topic or with this subject, whatever it is. Honestly, the politest, the easiest way is to just not answer it. It's just that. It's
or
just
say no thanks.
Yeah, hit delete or just no thanks.
No,
I'm not.
Thank you
I'm
for
not,
the opportunity.
And then I've seen people go off with like diatribes. Like I have seen like the Dead Sea Scrolls are being unfurled for all the reasons why
Here's all
they
the
will
reasons
not.
why.
Why I won't take the job and why it's immoral and why it's this and why it's this. And I'm like, oh boy.
I think in that regard, I think less is more in terms of a professional response. I don't think that if you're going to, say no to work, I don't think that the casting director really needs to know all of the whys, because you just might be writing for the sake of writing. And so once you say no, that's really all of the information they really need. And anything else that you add to it would simply be on your end, making you feel better, perhaps not, doing anything in regards to making the casting director feel guilty or, horrible for asking such a thing of anybody.
I think honestly the biggest culprit, believe it or not, because it's you said it at the top, religion and politics, right? Yeah. They're the two biggest culprits where people jump on their political or religious bandwagon and feel the need to tell others what they think or what they feel.
And that serves them.
It does. It really does. I mean, the casting director, we don't care because we can't play those games. It's EEO, guys. We have to look at it from that standpoint. It's equal opportunity for all. So whatever. The Christian community, for some reason, can get really intense about what religions they'll support or whether they'll do something for another religion or even another denomination within their faith. That's kind of a biggie that folks don't like to participate in.
On the other side of the coin there is that you will have people who will strictly do Christian voiceover. And, and that's great. I think that's like strategizing actually a market. So I think that's
totally
great and it works.
Is.
It works for the voice talent in that respect.
Gosh, yes. I've met a number of Jewish voice actors over the years who, many of them who had been bar or bat mitzvah, and they go, I had to read the Torah. I got enough Hebrew down. I can manage through some text, and there's huge markets for that sort of thing. There's an entire television network here locally called the Inspiration Network. That's a global television network, airs everywhere that is just Christian programming all day, every day, 24 hour.
Okay, there's your religion aspect in regards to politics. If it's something that you feel comfortable supporting, by all means, absolutely, I would say, go for it. And I believe for political voiceover, for the most part, they like you to make a choice in regards to, who you're supporting, and that is how you get hired.
Yeah. Typically speaking, companies that cast for political season and that really push for political work, they will send a mass email to their talent pool well in advance and say, okay, so we need to know where you stand and do you care and do you not care? What will you and won't you do? And some folks will say, I don't want to do anything political of any kind, and that's fine. They get eliminated from that casting list. And others will say, I'm a staunch Republican, I'm a diehard Democrat, I'm a liberal, whatever it is. And then they only receive consideration for that party's ads or content.
That makes the casting a whole lot more efficient too, though, in that regard. Totally. Because when the season is upon them, they have to cast usually quickly. That is something I know that when I was researching about political demos and in creating political demos, it was all about what are your issues that you will speak about? What will you and what won't you speak about?
Yeah, and then on the other hand, things like strong language and vulgarity Like in radio imaging, there's a ton of that, right? So I have stations that are always pushing the envelope. Now, whether the cuss word in question will actually be aired is another story. In most cases, it's not. It's bleeped or it's manipulated. But even still, I've had a lot of voice actors over the years say, I don't feel comfortable doing that. If the copy comes in and it says they're like, I'm out. I don't want to do that.
And I hope you're bleeping that out. See, now I am one of those people, Gabby, that part of it is my job for like close to 20 years was working with young children. And so I had to curtail that aspect of my language. And so it just became like habit that I would say words that were acceptable and not swear words. So for me,
wow, and you're still my friend.
Right? Exactly.
Wow.
And I still like you too. I love you. But it's all about I think what you're comfortable. I personally think that anybody that has copy that needs to include swear words, my personal feeling is that it's not necessary. And so therefore I may not feel comfortable. First of all, it wouldn't, because it's not really part of who I am. I don't know how convincingly, well, all right, I know I could do it convincingly, but I don't know how convincingly I would be able to get into that copy and issue those swear words, because I don't believe it's necessary. That's me.
There you go. But I think that's a great perspective to have on this. We have to ask ourselves. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We have to go look at your personal brand, look at who you are, look at your reputation, look at the types of clients you're attracting, and you've got to go, is that something I want to be associated with? We have a lot of mutual voice actor friends that work in the children's markets primarily and do a lot of kid voices. They don't necessarily want something like that associated with them. They have to be very careful about those affiliations. So totally makes sense. And they may not even be opposed to it. They might just go, man, this is so off brand for me. This could get me in trouble.
Or if you have a brand that is associated with one particular genre or I guess aspect of your beliefs, then if you're going to do anything that is beyond that or polarized, then maybe you have a different brand. Because I know a lot of people who do audiobooks that maybe are in the erotica. They have either stage names or different names that they are voicing under. What are your thoughts about that, Gabby?
Well, I think that, honestly, is a teaser for another episode, because I totally want to talk about aliases and the use of them and when and why. And I think we should explore that in depth.
Yeah, I agree.
But I get what you're saying. There's ways to do it, and there's ways to have it not affect a primary or a core brand within your business. And then there's other pieces to this equation too. Some of it sometimes is just about inquiry. So from the legal standpoint, right, I've had to ask on more than a couple of occasions. I've run into scripts and jobs where I'm like, I don't know how above board this particular thing may or may not be. And I'll go back to the casting party and say, just so we're clear, I can't get into any trouble for this, right? And the answer is always the same. They can't shoot the messenger. You are just part of that vehicle, that message, but the message is not your own. And therefore, it's the representing party. Like, I had something not that long ago that I voiced that I had to talk to my agent about it. And I had to go, where does this stand? What? And he was like, no, they can't shoot the messenger. It's their message. You're just the actor at that point. And interestingly enough, if you are being hired by a middle party, you're technically their employee, not the end client's employee.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I too had something similar to that in a robocall that I was hired for. Yeah, very interesting. And of course it was politically inspired, of course. I did not know, it was not local, so I was not familiar with the candidate, but I had to ask questions. So I think the fact that you brought that up, to ask questions as to, hey, where is this, first of all, being broadcasted? Who's hearing this? And is there a chance that I could get into trouble, into legal issue for this, is a great way to investigate things that you may or may not feel comfortable with.
It's honestly one of the main reasons, and I don't know about you, Anne, but I'm big on this. I won't even entertain fully quoting a job or locking in the terms of a job until I've seen the script.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I'm like,
excellent point. Yeah.
I gotta see it. I gotta see what I'm getting into because you never know. Years and years and years ago, I had I won't even call them a client, a person who came to me, and my production team at the time, they wrote this ad. It was so terrible. It was, in essence, it was making fun of 9/11. It was making fun of the Arabic people and faith. And it was like they had like written an Osama bin Laden like character in this thing. It was horrible. It was just so awful and just heinous that, of course we all rejected it. We took one look at the script and we're like, absolutely not. We want nothing to do with this.
I've seen scripts that have come across pay-to-play sites that have questionable content in them, and as well as swear words. But even the questionable content, like here, you're going to be playing a customer service manager, and you're going to be on a phone conversation with, so-and-so, but yet the dialogue doesn't quite somehow... doesn't quite reflect that scene. And so I was always like looking at that, stepping away and going, I don't think. Or those auditions where they want you to sneeze or, or act surprised or in a high-pitched female voice. Those...
I love that you brought that up because I think there's two things that we should address there. One is might as well be a public service announcement to all voice actors. So there are a handful of weirdos out there in our industry who pop up periodically and ask us to do ridiculous things as a standalone audition. There is no copy. There is no product.
Exactly.
Can you sneeze? Can you burp? Can you make some other bodily noise?
Yes.
99.9% of the time, what you're dealing with there is someone with a serious fetish issue.
Yeah.
And
that would be a no.
It's gross. Yeah.
that would be a no for me.
I love turning into Randy Jackson. Just it's a no from me, dog.
Yes, that's a no for me as well. Yeah, keep that in mind. And
so and there's another piece to this that I think is also really important. People will sometimes ask, well, if I signed an NDA and there was an ethics clause or a morality clause inside of the NDA, can that influence or affect what other types of work I can take on? And the answer to that is yes and no. No, in the sense that, again, if you are voicing for another client, if you take on a character, a role, they cannot hold you accountable for someone else's words, someone else's content. However, when they talk about that ethics and morality, they're saying you as a real person, as an individual. If you do something that puts you in the public spotlight, that it could be damaging or could be character assassination for yourself, then that company has the right to fire you or release you because by association, they look bad. And this is, we've seen this with every celebrity under the sun, right?
Yeah, I think the last one I remember was it not Affleck?
Gilbert Gottfried, and then, Jared, the Subway guy, and Bill Cosby, and like the list goes on and on
the
of
list
this.
goes on, so.
Celebrities lose endorsements and lose clients all the time because they put themselves in a morally compromising position, and that's what happens.
Yeah, and Gabby, I want to make mention of the fact that a lot of times these people are putting themselves in that position on social media. So that is something for our voice talent to remember, that, again, anything that you're putting out there on social media affects your brand and can also affect the brand that you could be voicing for. So you have to be really careful about what it is that you are taking issue with or taking a stand on, because that may or may not affect your current work and or future work.
So true. So true. So, on one hand, don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe, to voice your opinion, but there's a nice way, there's an easy way of doing it. It is okay to turn down a job if you don't agree with it for whatever reason. You just don't necessarily need to get into all the whys.
Well, exactly. And the casting director doesn't need to know everything. It can just be a simple professional no thank you, especially if you want to do work with that person again. You don't necessarily need to respond if it comes from somebody that you think could be asking a weird request.
Yeah, and from the casting perspective, for as many people as say no, there's 20 other people that are willing to do the job. So one way or another, it'll get cast. They're not worried about it.
Exactly. I'd like to give a big shout out to our amazing sponsor again and again and again. I can't say how much I love IPDTL. For our quality connection and recording, you too can record like a boss and find out more at ipdtl.com.
And we've got all the social platforms to find us: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Plus, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and we're now on Google Play, Spotify. So many ways to connect with the bosses, and of course, our website, VOBoss.com.
For all things boss. Thanks, guys, so much. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your hosts, Ann Ganguzza and Gabby Nisterko. All rights reserved. Ann Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.